League match at 8 o'clock. So if I start at my normal time of 7:30, there's every possibility I would not be finished streaming by the time the match started, and nobody wants to miss any football. Apologies for the late notice, but I was not paying attention today. I was having one of them days. It's been a very, very, very Monday kind of Monday. I've been having one of them days. Didn't realise the time, didn't realise the match, and only our lovely guest messaged me and was like, oh, have we got a stream tonight? And I was like, yeah, 7:30, you know, the usual. And then I was like, not the usual, because we have football, therefore 7 o'clock, therefore I have actually never done a less organised stream than this one. And there are some contenders, there are some real contenders, but I have to be honest, not prepared at all. So I cannot tell you what's about to come out of my mouth, which I suppose makes things more interesting. But so yeah, first of all, shout out to Guess for reminding me that, you know, stream, football, you know, get your stuff together, Lou. Also, thank her for being in the chat. So she's here, she's got her tea, she's got her spanner, she's ready to listen. Please do smash a like on the video on your way in, people. Thank you so much if you're watching it live. Thank you also so much if you are watching it on the catch-up. Let me just double check before I tell you guys a lie, because I believe, yes, we have 436 subscribers, 436 lovely little teacups. I am absolutely hoping to get that to 500. We're chasing it down. We're well on our way. Tell your family, your friends, maybe you forgot, maybe you weren't sure. This is your moment. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, get involved in the chat. And lovely iNotes is in the house. Big up the 40 Games Giants. iNotes, what can I say? It's looking good. I'm happy at the minute. But let's start with some Giants. Let's start with Manchester United, because Manchester United played Aston Villa. Jenny is in the house. Lovely Jenny. All the people. See, that's it. Nobody any warning tonight. Normally you get the half an hour, the 30-minute warning, but I was so disorganised. I would say nobody got that. And everyone's like, she's live, there's a live. Yes, it's because I'm disorganised. So apologies, people. And thank you to the lovely lot that have actually landed, that have actually found me live, even though I did not give you any prior information about this live. So thank you for being here. I do appreciate it. I appreciate the people with their notification bell on. But yes, I know spoke of Giants. That leads me to want to talk about my team, Man United. I've not got to say that very much this season. I've not got to say a lot of nice things about us in the last 10 years, let alone this season. I am enjoying it. I am deluded. I am happy. And lest you forget, I am in fact just a fan. So yes, I'm allowed to be deluded. I'm allowed to be crazy. I am allowed revel in my team being third when we absolutely shouldn't be. So many teams had to fall off this season. We have worked our way through 3 managers, and honestly, we're in third, lads. Does anyone realise this? This is crazy. Do you know what I probably realised? Aston Villa. It was actually, and can I just say this? So there's been a lot of talk this season about like what's a boring game, what's an exciting game, what's a good way to play, a bad way to play. And I have often said I actually don't really, like, for the most part, I don't really care. So, for example, Pep's style of football isn't my cup of tea. Pass. If people like it, that's fine. It's not my cup of tea. The long throws, the corners and stuff, I don't really care about that. It doesn't annoy me. But I did think yesterday, while we were watching the match, I say we because I assume everybody was watching this spectacular display by Man United. It was a very exciting game. Man United, Aston Villa. It was end to end. There was fast pace. There was attacks. Anybody could score at any moment. And I am sure for the neutral, or even for those who wanted United to lose, you probably had a bit of excitement for quite a while into that game. Can I also just say, this was the only prediction of the entire weekend so far that I actually got correct. I predicted 3-1 to Man United. Everyone thought I was nuts. Everyone thought I was crazy. I am nuts and crazy. This is not why. So Man United beat Aston Villa because before this match we were level on points. United were only ahead by goal difference, if we remember, and we are now just ahead on the points. And let's face it, points on the board is the most important thing. Also, for those who didn't see my little post yesterday, just enjoying myself, United are closer to City than City are to Arsenal. This is only 7, this is 9. Therefore, we are closer to a top 2, or not a top 2, a battle for second. I don't know the right way to phrase it. Man United are putting up more of a battle for second than City are putting up for the title. So let's just also put that out there. Yes, there is so much chest, and I am not ashamed. Love it. Also, Jenny has been very lovely in the chat. She said some very nice things. Jenny said, I checked your channel earlier to see when you were going live. I look forward to it. First of all, I apologise for being a disorganised mess, because that's what I am. Second of all, that's very cute. Thank you, Jenny. I love that you love it. I love that you look forward to it, and I love that you check it out. So thank you very much. Jenny followed that up with, you are the only United fan I'm happy for. Maybe Streets. But that's it. That's okay. I won't tell any of the other ones. Although, guess in the chat there, she is a United fan. just putting that out there. But yes, I completely get what you mean. Like yesterday, we are going to talk about the Spurs and the Liverpool game. I'm going to get to that when I'm finished with my own team, but I'm going to enjoy my own team first. Where are the matches there? I just keep pressing all the wrong buttons. But yeah, so we are going to talk about this. We're going to talk about Liverpool Spurs. I was very happy for the Spurs fans I know, and I was quite sad for some of the Liverpool fans I know. Obviously, as a United fan, I was over the moon, because I can't have Liverpool picking up points and coming near us in the table. You lot need to stay all the way down there. But let me see. I know it says, I thought Guess was a Madrid fan. She is. She supports 2 teams. However, they're not in the same league, so we allow it. Guess is so cute. It's fine. She doesn't have to like me. Poor Jenny didn't know. But yeah, we know what you mean, Jenny, we know. But yeah, so the likes of Jenny, who's very lovely, and Winnie, who's quite nice, he's in our chat sometimes, really nice guy, Liverpool fan. Feel a little bit sorry for you two. I don't feel sorry for Don Hassam at all, because he said he would laugh if my club went into liquidation, and frankly, that means I have exactly zero sympathy for him. In fact, I might have enjoyed it a little bit more because he said that. But back to my team. So we're going to talk about the match, United Villa. I'll briefly talk about the other 2 matches, and then I will talk about Liverpool Spurs, and hopefully I'm going to get all of that in the next 49 minutes, because I talk really fast. So United Villa, obviously, as I said, both of us were on the same number of points. Whoever won the match was going to go ahead in the league. I have said repeatedly on this channel that I feel like Villa are going to have an almighty drop off, and that I feel that Villa are going to drop out of the top 5. I also said before the season started that I thought United would finish in the Champions League spots. So I had an awful lot riding on that game yesterday. Not only my Man United fandom, but my entire opinion of the whole season was going to be in the bin if this didn't happen. So I was feeling slightly more nervous than I normally do before a United match. And to be fair, that level is quite high, because we always have to be nervous before a United match. This one specifically, because it's the kind of match that United would normally come and absolutely lose the BAP. Lovely Aaron is in the house. Thank you for being here. Good hi. I was trying to say good evening and hi at the same time. So good hi to you, sir. But this is the kind of match United would normally have an issue with. So under Amram, we had multiple chances to go into the top 5, to go into the top 4, and we bottled them, we fumbled them, we did all the bad things that you can do with points in a football match. We didn't keep any of them. We didn't take any of them home and stick them on the table. But that led me to think going into this match that while we have had a very good record under Carrick, I did think, okay, this is a good test. The pressure's on. We need to win. We need to beat them. They are quite literally trying to fight us for the spot that we're currently in. So the stakes couldn't be higher at this point in the season for us. And also, it's the kind of match we normally don't do very well in. So I thought this is going to be a really, really telling match for whether the last match was a blip and we're going to continue forward again, or it's the start of a downward spiral. And to be fair with United, it could have been either way. I am happy to report it wasn't, but going into the match, we didn't know that. However, and I do like to watch the little stats that come up on Sky Sports and on TNT. I'm pretty sure this was on Sky Sports, but they like to tell us nice things sometimes. Often the stats they tell us about United are, they've broke this worst record ever. They broke this thing they haven't done in 50 years. It's bad. But yesterday they gave us a nice one about Casemiro. Casemiro, going into the match, had the most set piece goals this season in the Premier League for a single player with 5. He left the match with 6. So that made him even topper. Which I thought was very good. It also points to the fact, again, something I've mentioned multiple times on the channel, we absolutely are going to struggle in the air next season without Casemiro. I understand he's getting older. I understand his wages are enormous. I understand maybe he wants to go out on a high and he's happy to part ways with Manchester United before the football leaves him. So pointing to what Jamie Carragher said previously, obviously the football hasn't left him, but maybe he wants to leave now while he feels good, while he's on top, while he's doing well, so he doesn't stay so long that the football leaves him. Go out on top, go out on a high. While United might not be on top, I mean, it's pretty good compared to where we've been some other seasons. And also him as an individual, he's doing really, really well. If you stay around long enough, you become the villain. What's that saying about being a villain if you're around too long? If you live long enough to become the villain? Something like that. But if he stays around too long, imagine he stays another season and he drops off and then he goes out on a low. You don't want that from him. So we are absolutely going to miss him so much. He has been so valuable for us this season. However, I kind of like that he's going out on a high for him. I think that's fair. Aaron is reminding all the people in the house, all the people watching afterwards, everybody that's around, hit the like button, please and thank you. But it was... Right, so I'm going to talk about the players that I thought did well. So Casemiro, obviously, I thought, do you know what? And the two guys on the thumbnail, Casemiro and Bruno. I thought first half, Casemiro, sensational. He was front, he was back, he was defending, he was attacking, he was heading, he was all over the place. He was very, very, very good. I thought Ahmad was very good because Ahmad hasn't been fantastic lately. He's been a little bit underwhelming, a little bit underperforming, not particularly in the match, no end product, not had a good time of it. And I actually thought he did really well in this match. I thought he was active, he was up and down the wing, he was back defending again, he was up attacking, he was putting in crosses. In fact, between himself and Dalot, they were putting in so many crosses, I had to ask myself, why is our striker not on the pitch? Where is Sesko? Where is Sesko? Because Mbeumo, while he has been very, very good for us this season, he was quite quiet yesterday. And do you know what? I thought, obviously it worked out in the end, but I did think that Carrick either should have started Sesko or when he saw how the game was going, he should have brought him on sooner. At the end of the day, you have to make the right decision for the team. And I said this about Tudor taking off Kinski. You have to make the right decision for the team. You don't want to go out and embarrass a player taking them off like 15 minutes in. However, if you can clearly see Mbeumo is not having his best game. You can clearly see that we have players getting crosses into the box. You know you've got someone on the bench who can make the most of those, and we understand how important this match is in potentially deciding the trajectory for the rest of our season. Make the decision. Make the decision, Carrick. And see, this is the problem with Carrick. He's very good for right now. When it comes to making hard decisions after this season, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. So absolutely delighted, glad he's getting the results, hope it continues to the end of the season, and then I hope we hire somebody who is a better manager. But yeah, I thought Ahmad was really good. Obviously I thought Mbeumo was underwhelming a bit. Cunha really, really good, really, really active. I thought the defence as a whole was really, really good. Mama Flossie's in the house. Flossie, you are not incorrect. And in fact, you are not wrong. I am wrong. and I am incorrect, and I can't tell time, and I have no memory. So, you were correct to think it was 7:30, because until about 10 to 7, I also thought it was going to start at 7:30, and I was planning to do some work on the stream before it started. And then I realised we have a match at 8 o'clock, and I can't start a stream at 7:30 and end at 8 o'clock because I talk too much for that. No point lying to myself. So, you were in fact correct, and I just am not organised. So, thank you for coming. Because I was disorganised. It was all me. Also, iNotes says Casemiro set piece king. Yes, he is. But yeah, I thought first half Ahmad was good, Dalot was good, Casemiro was unbelievable, and I thought Cunha was very active. The only other thing of note I want to say about the first half before we dive into the second half is Watkins. Watkins got a very silly yellow card, a really silly yellow card. Kicks the ball after he was about a mile offside, kicks the ball away, and just honestly, like, it was just such a silly yellow card to pick up. It put him under pressure for the whole rest of the match, and we are the only Premier League team Watkins has ever received a red card against. And in that match where he received a red card, it was because he got 2 yellows, one of which was for dissent. So again, silliness, just anger taken over. So I suppose I wouldn't normally pay much attention to these kind of things. But since Chelsea have highlighted just how costly petulance can be in terms of cards, and then obviously we see Romero and Van de Ven doing it at Spurs, when I now see other players doing it, I've become like really aware of it. So I just thought that was a little thing to note. Now, he obviously didn't get a second yellow, but it was a silly first one to pick up and left him a little bit out. Do you know what I mean? And I do have to laugh. I love you guys in the chat because honestly, you make me laugh so much. Flossie, iNotes is asking Flossie for the points back, 3 points back. Flossie is saying no refunds. But we move into the second half of the match. Bruno corner, Casemiro, king of set pieces, gets a goal. 1-0 up, and you know what, I thought well done Casemiro. He had a very, very good first half. It was great to see him get the goal in the second half. You could see how delighted he was celebrating. You could see him talking to Bruno about how many assists are left, because Bruno is of course going for the all-time record for most Premier League assists in a single season. He currently sits on 16. That means he has now broken David Beckham's record for the United record. So the most assists in a single season record at United was held by David Beckham since 1999-2000. This record is 26 years old. 26 years old. It was 15. Bruno now has 16. He has beaten David Beckham's 26-year-old record, which I think is quite massive. I think that's really and when we think about the fact that he played in deep midfield for a lot of this season, when we think about, to be fair, our striker has been primarily benched for most of the season. He's become a bit of a super sub at the moment while he's developing his skills, and Bruno was playing completely outside his position, in a position that he wasn't very good in, to be quite honest with you, and has only really moved back into number 10, his preferred position, since Amram has left. I have absolutely forgotten the name. Fletcher. Oh my God, I was like, what is his name? And then I had to say in my head, Carrick, and then I was like, Fletcher, obviously. So Fletcher moved him back into his normal position. And then, Carrick has obviously left him there. And I have to say, I think he's going to make it. I think the Premier League record is 20. He's already got 16. And obviously the players are aware of it because they're talking about it. I think he's going to get it, I think he really is going to get it. And you see iNotes in the comments there is saying, come on, Bruno, win player of the season, burn Rice. I have to say, and actually I was previously against this. But I've had a bit of a change of heart. And you know what that is? It's not a flip-flop, lads. It's a fan. It's a fan changing their fan opinion. Oh my God, somebody changed their opinion. Get the flip-flops out. No, we're allowed to change our opinions because that's how life works. We find out new things. Yes, I am getting messages on WhatsApp. I'm going to turn the vibrate off. It's my other half. It's my live-in tech support telling me he's going to be late. So if everything or anything goes wrong, lads, we are on our own. So let's just pray the gremlins stay out of the system because there's no support this evening. We are on our own. We don't want that. That's dangerous. But yeah, I've had a change of heart in regards to Bruno. I didn't think he should get the player of the season just for assists. I thought there had to be more to it. I thought, he has to do more. It can't be if he gets the assist record, he gets Premier League player of the season. And if he doesn't get the assist record, he shouldn't get it. But I have to say, he's been really good. He's been really, really good. To get that record while playing essentially as a midfielder for the majority of the season, I mean, that's pretty good. In this United team, Declan Rice is doing good stuff in the Premier League leaders. Do you know what I mean? Arsenal are a very good team with very good players everywhere, and they've only had one manager for 7 years. We've had 3 managers this season. Half of our players are either going to retire or on the injury table or are terrible. And he's still managed, I reckon, to beat this record. That's pretty bloody good. You can't really sniff at that, can you? So, yeah, I think he has to be in with a shout, whether he gets it or not. He's done unbelievable this season. I think he absolutely has to be in the top 3. And, as I said, I've changed my tune on that. That wasn't really how I was thinking about it. But the more I see it, the more I think about it, the more I sort of look at what he's actually done, the more I have to say, do you know what? Fair play. Fair play, he's earning it. Do you know what I mean? But, so obviously, as I said earlier, I thought Casemiro had a fantastic first half. I thought the second half belonged to Bruno. And that's why I've put the picture of them together in the thumbnail, because I thought they kind of passed the baton. Casemiro handled the first half, got his goal, and then Bruno really did. He just ran the show completely in the second half. I thought it was very, very good. And I have to say, since Bruno has gone back to his position, having been moved out of it, I actually think it's the best we've seen him in about 3 seasons. I think we're seeing the best of Bruno, better than he was since before Amorim, since was it early Ten Hag it would have been? The difference is incredible. I feel like, do you know when you don't know what you've got till it's gone? I think maybe because he was moved out of his position and he's so pleased to be back in it. He's playing even better than he was before he was moved out of it, if you get what I mean. But I feel like at the moment we're definitely seeing the best of Bruno. Obviously, then we go down directly after the United goal. Down the other end, Casemiro concedes a free kick after having scored the goal. He then stops the free kick. He's the one in the wall who stops the free kick going towards the net. So Casemiro was very involved. He was all over the place. Then after that, unfortunately, Barkley scored. Barkley has a habit of scoring against us. He doesn't score very often, but when he does, he likes to do it against United. And then we had the VAR check to see, did it touch Onana's shorts? And I have to say, when I was watching it, because they made us watch it 16 times while they figured out whether it touched him or not, they decided it did and the goal stood, which to be honest I was fine with. The same as the penalty shout for Mings on Ahmad in the first half. I didn't want to win it by a penalty. I didn't want to win the match by a contentious call, because the amount of times it gets thrown at United and United fans, oh, yous get given Everton, Everton's given your way, yous get all the decisions, blah, 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 blah. That's the only reason yous ever win anything, is because yous get given all the decisions. There was a pull. Mings does pull Ahmad. You can see on the video, the jersey's away over here. The neck is clearly pulled, which prevented him from moving in the direction he would have moved to play the ball. So by rights, it possibly was a penalty, possibly it was one of those orange ones. I am very glad it wasn't given though, because I didn't want another one of those. Then we see the VAR check, Onana offside. Is he in the vision side? Considering he had to move out of the way of the ball because of the trajectory, then yeah, he was clearly in the trajectory of the ball, between the ball and the goalkeeper. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had to move if he wasn't in the way. So he was in the way. Also, does it touch him? I have to say, upon watching the footage, I thought it was unclear, and that's what they said. There was no conclusive evidence to show that it definitely did, therefore they can't disallow a goal when it's not conclusive. However, he did say afterwards, on camera, that yeah, it touched him. So therefore, it should have been ruled off. And they watched it enough times that they should have been able to see the fact that it touched him. So, there's two decisions, and I want to highlight this for all the people that say United get all the decisions, everything is given to you, so referees favour United, blah de blah de blah. No, they bloody well don't. There are some calls we get where we're lucky, and there are some calls we get against us. The reason I don't give out is because I actually think it, specifically for United, I do feel like it evens itself out more or less. Now, the likes of a Newcastle I can understand, because for the most part they've had a terrible season with decisions other than in their match against us. But up till that point they'd had a really bad season. I don't think it's enough to even itself out, whereas with United we get some, we don't get some. The reason I'm highlighting it is not because I think, oh my god, we should have got them. The reason I'm highlighting it is to point out that we don't always get the decisions. We should have maybe got the penalty in the first half and we didn't, and Onana himself admitted that the ball touched him while he was in an offside position, therefore it should have been ruled off. Even if he wasn't in the goalkeeper's line of sight, he was offside and it touched him. Therefore, it should have been off. But the goal was given. And as I said, knowing the result now, again, I'm quite relieved by that, because we didn't win by a contentious decision. We won that match because we were the better team. Because we didn't give up. Because we kept trying. Because we actually showed a bit of backbone. And we actually went and we got the match. We took the match and we won it ourselves. We didn't have it sort of handed to us by a Villa mistake or a referee call. So I'm really pleased by that. What I'm just looking to see what I'm writing down here, and I can see in my notes the word fruit, and I was like, why would I be writing the word fruit about a football match? What am I talking about? And so I had to read my own notes to figure out what in the name of God I was actually saying. But what I'm talking about is the substitution of Rodgers for Watkins, and what I wrote down was Rodgers on for Watkins, and it's bearing fruit straight away. And you have to say, they looked dangerous as soon as Rodgers came on the pitch. Rodgers had a very, very good season. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, people. Because while they started to look more dangerous, while Rodgers did make a difference on the pitch, it wasn't enough, because United went on ahead then and scored a second goal. We made it 2-1. Cunha scores the goal. However, it comes from an unbelievable ball from Bruno. A fantastic pass from Bruno. So 2 assists from Bruno in the one match, which is obviously how he jumped up to 16 assists. And then obviously well done to Cunha for scoring it, because the angle wasn't great. Although I have seen Cunha miss so many clear-cut chances. He could be stood right in front of the goal, about 2 foot in front of it, and he could sky it over and miss. See, if you give him one of them wonky angles from the side, he actually seems to score it more. I think if you give him a wonky angle or a straight on, I think he's more likely to score the wonky angle. Now, obviously, maybe that's the angle he's used to shooting from. Maybe that's the angle that he's used to, having. And that's obviously then the one he practices more, because that's the position he's normally playing from, is a side, and therefore at an angle rather than straight on. But again, it's just a little something to note. He seems to do better from angles than he does head on, because it might be something that we see kind of going forward with him then as well. So something just to note. Just a little note. A little plant inside your head. A little seed for the next match. Then obviously we see the substitution for Sesko coming on. Up to this point, every time Sesko has been subbed on, it has been for Ahmad to come off. This time it was for Mbeumo to come off. Ahmad stayed on the pitch. I thought that was the right decision. Ahmad had a better game than Mbeumo. Therefore, the right decision is to leave Ahmad on the pitch because he's having the better game. Great to see Sesko coming on. He does come on. and he does, he gets his goal. He gets his goal, another goal. And I believe, and I wrote this down because I didn't want to get it wrong, Sesko has 8 goals from his last 10 matches. That's a pretty good return. Now, the commentator said something that I thought was a little bit nonsense, if I'm being totally honest with you. They said, is he too good? Is he proving too good as a sub that's going to be to his detriment? Essentially, is he so good as a sub, he's not going to get starts? And while I understand the reason that the commentator would ask that question, how can you be too good as a sub? If you're too good as a sub, you become a first team player. Also, might I remind you, a substitute was what won us the treble. A substitute won us the treble. People look down on a substitute. Obviously, everybody wants to be a first pick. That's a natural thing as a human being. People want to be the first pick. You want to be, in the starting lineup. But people talk about being a substitute like it's some sort of insult. If you've gotten so good that you were a substitute from Manchester United in the Premier League and you're a good one that people like that's getting used regularly, how can that possibly be a bad thing? And I don't mean that not just for Man United. If you're a substitute for Man City, if you're a substitute for, not Liverpool this season, but generally Liverpool, if you're a substitute for Arsenal, look at the squad they have. It's impossible for them to play all the players. Do you think any of them is giving out that they're a sub? Do you think for City, Ryan Cherky's giving out he's a sub? And he's another one that's smashing it off the bench. I just think when it's a big squad, when it's a big team, when it's the big stage and the big competitions, I don't think people will complain about that. Obviously his aim is eventually he wants to be the starter, but the world's not going to end if he's not starting. And he's doing well and he's developing, he's learning and he's drastically improved. And that's one thing I will say for Carrick. I do feel that Sesko has drastically improved since he has come in. So he's obviously shown him something he wasn't being shown before. And I think the sub thing seems to be working for the minute. It will change at some point, but for the minute it seems to be working. So I'm happy enough. And he seems happy enough, which is the key thing. Because if he wasn't happy, he wouldn't be performing when he comes on. But yeah, look, overall it was a good match. It was tough. It was a tough match. And we had to go and win it. We had to go and earn it. And I'm really glad we didn't get it through a controversial decision, because that wouldn't have told me anything about my team. We went and we won the match because we were better. So I was really pleased by that. I'm really pleased that we're in third. It's nice to come and talk to you about United win. It's lovely. It's lovely. I normally talk about all your teams, but no. Today I wanted to talk about my team. I'm going to talk about the rest of the teams, but I wanted to open with United. I normally leave us to the end. I talk about everybody else. And I said, no, not today. Today, we're going to talk about my team doing well. But, other teams. Because we, overall, when we were doing our predictor table, we predicted a lot of high-scoring games for this round, this match week, whatever you want to call it. We predicted lots of high scoring. We predicted like 3-2s, 4-1s. We were all over the place. We were very excited for goals. And what we had was 0-0, 1-0, 2-0, 1-0, 1-1, 0-0. And then obviously United Villa provide the 3-1. We smashed it. We were the highest scoring match. But we had thought Crystal Palace Leeds was going to be a big one. We all that was generally the consensus. Crystal Palace Leeds was going to be a good one. To be fair, I know you don't have to talk about Chelsea. I don't mind. Well, I know you escaped it yesterday. I did Chelsea yesterday, so don't worry. I'm not going to pick on yous again today. I talked about yous yesterday. On a Sunday, I do my live at 12:30 because it means when the football's over, I switch off all of the football and I spend some time with my other half. So Sunday evenings are a no football zone. So I do my Saturday kind of reactions on a Sunday afternoon at 12:30. Kai, Flossie is saying, Kai is hiding after his shameless prediction. Don't you worry, we'll have Kai back on Friday and you can sort him out, Flossie. Jenny says, I knew we would drop points. I wanted to be wrong, but alas. Jenny, you did. Do you remember you and I, we said everybody was banking on a Liverpool win. Everybody laughed at me. Laughed. And I do mean laughed when I said that Spurs could get something. Now, I said Spurs 1-0 and based on the match, I don't think that was a crazy prediction. So for everybody who said I was nuts, I was Delulu, I was crazy, oh my God, 1-0 to Spurs, are you insane? Well, it was 1-1. It wasn't that bad. Also, Jenny was there to witness it and backed me up on the fact that Liverpool have been horrific, tremendously bad this season. Lovely Harold is in the house. Hi Lou, I predicted 3-1, but many teams go pragmatic towards the end of the season, i.e. less high scoring games. And you're probably right, Harold. A lot of the teams are kind of wanting to keep what they have rather than risking it. So you're probably right there as well. But you know what? I just don't think, I'm like you, I don't really go with up here. I go with down here. So I don't think I have it in me to predict a low scoring match unless I really think it's going to be dross. But what I will just say, Leeds got a red card. And I don't know if anybody's seen this. I can't play any of the footage for you because they'll just do the copyright thing on me, right? But the Leeds Palace match was a bit wild. So Hughes, who I don't like after the Casemiro incident, handballed it. And he handballed it by in the box going... So, I mean, he handballed it. He absolutely handballed it. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who has been having a really good season, who was quite clinical, and he went through a little spell where he was scoring a lot of goals there, missed the penalty. He sent it wide. He sent it to the left. Now, what I wonder is, and I don't know, somebody who knows more about taking penalties might be able to tell me, but it looked really, really windy on the pitch. You could see everything in the background like really blowing, and I don't mean a little gust, I mean it was windy. I don't know if that impacts it when a ball goes from, a standstill for a penalty to moving. I don't know while it's getting up to speed. Can the wind grab it enough to take it left? Somebody can tell me, could a strong wind be enough to send it wide when you're taking it from a stop to a moving ball? It's different if you're running with it, because it already has the velocity then, and then when you shoot, it's not going to really trouble it too much. But in golf, they check the wind, so maybe it's the same for football. I don't know. Somebody who knows better than me, but he sent it wide anyway. Then, Goodmanson gets sent off. So... Leeds had a bad few minutes. Let me tell you how close together this happened, right? So, Dominic Calvert-Lewin misses the penalty in the 45th minute, and in the 45th plus 5, Goodmanson gets a red card. Now, this was a little bit crazy, and the main reason it was a little bit crazy is the referee didn't realise Goodmanson was already on a yellow. So, Goodmanson was on a yellow for a foul earlier on, okay? In the 26th minute, he got his first yellow. But then, every time really anything happened, all of the Crystal Palace players were at the ref, to the point where Goodmanson then kind of put in a bit of a tackle, and he got... the referee sort of put into peer pressure was basically what it looked like to me. It just looked like a bit of peer pressure. And he pulls out the yellow card, gives him the yellow, goes to write it down and goes to walk away. And it's the Crystal Palace players point out to the referee, that's a second yellow, he's off now. And you can see on the referee's face, panic. You can see the panic. And then you can see him communicating, he's listening. And it's like a few minutes later that he actually pulls out the red card. He booked him, he gave him the second yellow, thinking he wasn't already on the yellow. And the thing is, the first yellow was a yellow. The second one wasn't. I think the second one he had given him for accumulation, having forgotten he'd already given him the first one. I don't think the referee meant to send him off. In fact, the referee did not mean to send him off. If you can find the clip, let me see. If I have the clip here, what I will do is I will put it in the description. Can I find it? Yes. So what I'm going to do here, let me click this and I'm going to do it while I'm speaking to you, because if I do not do it while I am speaking to you, I will forget. So let's do this. Good. Second yellow. Sorry guys, just me repeating the things I'm typing. I'm sure it's all very, very good content for you guys to listen to. But there, it's in the description of the video now, so you'll be able to go and have a look at it, because I can't play it or they'll copyright me. But honestly, Sarr was going out of his way to get somebody sent off. The Palace players were trying to get somebody sent off, and bless him, the referee fell for it. You could just see it all over his face. The moment of, do you know what it was like? It was like the moment. It's like the moment that you know when you pat your pocket and your phone's not there and you go, oh no. That's what it was like when they told him that it was the second yellow. You could see his face going, oh no. But anyway, he was sent off, but somehow, so he was sent off in the first half, and somehow Leeds make it the whole way through to the end of the match against Crystal Palace. 0-0 that match ended, but it was a bit crazy for 0-0 to be fair. Then Forest and Fulham also ended 0-0, but Forest actually had scored and Ndiaye was off. I wonder, can I find this picture of how Ndiaye was off? Yes, I have this one. This is it here, right? So Nottingham Forest thought they had taken the lead against Fulham, but after an intervention from VAR, Dan Ndiaye was found to be offside by his bum cheek. His bum cheek was offside. Absolutely insane. This is ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous. So, after he was ruled off by his bum cheek, it ended 0-0. Now, I am going to talk, obviously, about the Liverpool and Spurs game, but let me have a little look at what you guys have been saying in the last few minutes. Let me see. Aaron is saying Klopp blamed the win before, so I'm saying yes. Jenny also says Klopp did talk about the wind. I've been to matches where the wind does appear to affect the ball. Okay, so I feel a little bit better now, because I was like, maybe I'm crazy. But you could, like, it wasn't it was like a gust of wind, and you could actually, what brought it to my attention was you could see everything at the goal, kind of, and then behind the goal, everything was blowing like really strong. And you could see he put a curl on it to go into the bottom corner, and it just went wide. And so that's why I thought maybe the wind carried the curl just a bit more than he had intended. So there you go. Top class football IQ, that's me. Let me see. No Man's Sky Clippy, has Lou taken a chat? Yes, No Man's Sky Clippy, you should know better. I always do the chat. Every 5 to 10 minutes I do the chat. You may have just missed it. This is probably my third or fourth go around on the chat. So if there's something you want to say, get it in and I'll have a little look. But let me see. iNote says, I liked Klopp. Most rivals didn't, but we cook him because of the Liverpool fans. I mean, that's how fandom works, isn't it? And Jenny returns the favour. Funny thing, I actually like Jose, but that's between you and me. You and us, Jenny. Us in the not cult, obviously. Flossie is saying, this sort of offside thing has got to stop. It's getting ridiculous. That it is, Flossie. Ridiculous. Absolutely insane. It actually bothers me so much. It bothers me so much. It's ridiculous. There's just no need for it whatsoever. But I'm very sorry, Jenny. I did put this off as long as I could. I tried my best. I did. But we have to talk about it. We have to talk about the fact that yous drew to Spurs 1-1. No Man's Sky Clippy says, I love Bruno Fernandes more than Ana Pino, which is Bruno's wife. We love Bruno Fernandes. people are sleeping on how good Lenny Yoro has been for us. We have to talk about I'm not even reading the rest of that sentence after the messy comment yesterday about Max Diamond. Yoro, I don't think, has actually been particularly good. I think he's had some really tough performances, and I think Aiden Heaven overall had been playing better than him. But you're correct. Yesterday, he was very good, very solid, making some really good tackles, blocks, ball recoveries. He was very good. He was running up the pitch, he was attacking. He had a very good game yesterday, and I have been critical of him. I don't think he's been overperforming. I think yesterday he was very good, really very good. I actually thought the whole defence yesterday was very good. I thought Dallow was good, which I never ever say. I thought Maguire was very good. You could see him orchestrating at the back. You could see him, directing the other players what to do. You could see him leading. He was leading. You could see, he was communicating with Yoro. As I said, I thought Yoro had a very good game. And I also thought Luke Shaw had a very good game. So, I thought our whole defence yesterday had a good game. And that includes Lomans, but I always think he has a good game. But Liverpool Spurs, obviously before the match kicked off, most people thought, not me, most people thought Liverpool was going to win. Rio and Gamoa did start, which is something that a lot of the Liverpool fans have been shouting for. I thought he had a very good match. Speaking of players that had a good match, I thought Rio and Gamoa had a very good match. He was very attacking, very forward thinking. He was trying to take on his man. He was trying to cross it in. He was doing really well. And he didn't look like a fish out of water. He didn't look, like a young man taking his first steps. He looked like he belonged. I thought he was very good. What is that word? I'm trying to read my own writing, and honestly, lads, I don't even think this is a word. Sousa. It says Sousa. Note to self, I might just need to buy a dictaphone because I struggled to read that word. I don't know what way I wrote that, but it's Sousa. So Sousa for Spurs was on his debut. It was his first start. He was a left back by trade. So that's his position, is left back, and he started in right midfield, according to the commentator. Now, I thought Spurs had a really good start. I thought there was chances at both ends. I thought there was, it was end to end. I think Liverpool had chances. I thought Spurs had chances. I thought Spurs started very much, they tried to be on the front foot. They were attacking. They were holding possession. I thought Spurs started really well, actually. I thought they looked while there was chances on both ends, I did think Spurs looked the more dangerous off the two. Also, what I thought was very interesting, Spurs has the second most goals from corners this season in the Premier League. Now, we obviously know who's first, obviously, Arsenal, but Spurs have second. I've not heard a single person say that all season, and I'm not being funny. I've looked at the corners. We looked at how bad Liverpool were for corners, but I thought it was very interesting that Spurs have the second most goals from corners this season. Obviously, it's not all about corner goals, because one of the teams that has the most is the top of the table. The team that has the second most corner goals is actually, fighting to stay out of relegation. So I thought that was very interesting, actually, when it came up, because I didn't know. Then, what have I got? I just don't want to miss anything, folks. That's why I reference my notes, because as you know, I have the worst memory in the entire world, and I never want to miss something that's like a key part of the match. So I do read my notes as I'm going. But yeah, so basically after a good start by Spurs, Szoboszlai puts Liverpool ahead. 1-0. And you're going, And what do I always say? It doesn't matter how much possession you have, it's what you do with it. Spurs had been doing well, taking chances, doing their best to score, really attacking. And then Dominic Szoboszlai goes and scores a goal. Really good goal, by the way. Now, Vicario sees it a little bit late with the wall. He does get a hand to it, but it somehow just goes in anyway. And he gets his full hand. Did you know that sometimes it's the fingertips and you see it sort of bend back and then the ball goes in anyway? It looked like he got a full hand to it despite having seen it late, and the ball went in anyway. So I think that probably says something to the power of the ball from Szoboszlai, who has obviously made a habit out of scoring from free kicks. But it was really good. And Szoboszlai, I don't think overall had his best ever performance yesterday, and I think in the last match he wasn't super good, but for the season I think he has to be Liverpool's player of the season, like by a country mile. He has to be. He's overall been very good, and so the fact that it was him that scored the goal, I think it probably was about right. But since after the goal then, Liverpool did sustain a bit of pressure on Spurs, and it was the first time that they did that. It was almost like the goal just gave Liverpool a little bit of belief, because up until that point Spurs had looked the more likely. But then after the goal goes in, they dropped a little bit, or Liverpool sort of levelled up, and then Spurs sort of worked their way back into the match. Now, there was a really good battle down that side between Tell and Szoboszlai. That was really interesting all match, because I thought they were both very good. They both had a good match. But then you have Vicario making a really, really good save, and he kind of pushed the ball past the post. Otherwise, it wouldn't have still been 1-0. It was a really good save by Vicario, and while we seem to be talking about the keepers more and more, we're talking about the likes of Sanchez. Obviously, we spoke about Kinski. I've been spending all season talking about Lamans. Donnarumma making mistakes in City's match, really bad mistakes. And so Vicario is one of the keepers that gets spoken about all the time. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he this? He's probably a bit of a mixed bag, but I thought he did a really good job yesterday, and he stopped some key shots to keep his team in the match, and obviously give them the opportunity to be able to come back into it. Now, then they go in for half-time. So Liverpool go in at half-time 1-0. Come out after half-time. Oh yes, and then before the equaliser, so we did have an equaliser, but before the equaliser, there was a point where Virgil van Dijk pulls Richarlison as he's taken a shot. Now, he pulls Richarlison to the ground. Richarlison gets the shot off. I can't remember if it was saved or missed or what, but it didn't go in. And there was no penalty given. I assume there was no penalty given because the shot got off. My thing was, Virgil van Dijk pulling him to the ground very, very clearly impacted his ability to take the shot, the quality of the shot that he got off, the trajectory of the shot that Richarlison got off. And it wasn't given. And I thought, there's been a few semi-robust challenges in the box over this game weekend that haven't been given as penalties. Contact that is much harder contact than we saw against for the likes of Cunha. So Cunha, the penalty we got for Cunha was really, really soft, and I said at the time I didn't particularly think it was a penalty. But we've seen since that, and particularly this game week, I noted there was a number of things in different matches that could have been penalties, and there probably would have been penalties earlier in the season that weren't given. And I do have to wonder, has there been a conversation since the Cunha one? Okay, this is the level of contact that we are willing to give a penalty for. And I just found it very interesting, because it seemed to be all matches across the board. There was a few things where I thought, oh, that's a pen, because it had been, prior to this, and this weekend it wasn't. I don't mind that, because if everybody's complaining that the penalties given are too soft, that we should be allowed some sort of contact, and then the referees have a meeting and said, you know what, we're giving them away too easy, we need to slow our roll a bit, there needs to be more contact, the threshold needs to be higher for it to be a penalty. I'm happy enough to see that, but I thought it was interesting, just really interesting. But Richarlison was pushing and pushing and pushing and trying and shooting and attacking and running. He would not give up. He wouldn't give up. He was very, very, very good. And he got his goal in the end. It was him that levelled up. And what I wrote down beside the Richarlison goal was, that's overdue. That's overdue. If he hadn't got his goal, it would have been actually so unlucky for him, because he was really trying. Now, I know it's saying in the chat, no consistency. Ray is saying you can't be changing the thresholds for fouls mid-season. Well, the thing is, if they've already changed them and they're changing them back. I know a lot of people feel the way you do, Rara. I know a lot of people are like, no, if this is the way it's been for the whole season, you can't now change it. I suppose my thinking is, if you're doing something that's wrong and you know it's wrong, what is the problem with correcting it? Do you know, if they sort of, I suppose maybe it would be better if they sent out a communication and said, look, maybe they do, and look, this is something I'm throwing out there, maybe they do this already internally. But if, for example, every 2 months they have a meeting and they say, okay, we're going to review the decisions to date this season, we might decide to change the thresholds for some of the fouls. And then if they do that, they send out a notification, say to all the teams to say, okay, we've reviewed this so far this season. Please note there will be a change to the way that X type of foul. So, for example, this a penalty is going to be awarded. I think people probably wouldn't mind, because you're notifying people, okay, we're changing how this is. So, for example, if they start changing the way they're refereeing the corners, for example, and I specifically think of, obviously Arsenal are doing it, but I specifically think of Everton, who we struggled with doing that. But that maybe they notify, okay, we are going to now be harder on pushing and shoving in the box on a corner kick. We are going to be more proactive in handing out cards for this, or, do you know what I mean, changing corners to a goal kick or whatever it is. But I think if they provide a notification, look, we've had a meeting, we want to correct this because we don't feel it's been done properly, that's the way it's going to be for the rest of the season or until the next review. I think that's right. I think if you can see something wrong and you can fix it, fix it. Why would you wait to fix something when you know it's being done wrong? However, I do understand, you know, what Ray Ray is saying, and what people, because I've seen a lot of people have the same opinion as Ray Ray. You can't change the threshold in the middle of the season. This is the way it's been done so far. Therefore, this is the understanding by all the players and the teams. They're playing to these rules. They've developed strategies for these rules because this is how it's been refereed so far. So I can completely understand that. I think if they, like that, if it was some sort of a review every 2 months or once a month or every 2 months, and then they provide a notification to the teams, look, this is going to change based on the meeting we've had, I think people wouldn't mind that so much, because at least you're communicating it, you're not expecting them to be psychic. But yeah, look, I see both sides of it. I'm just about, if you see an issue, fix it. But I completely understand the other side of it on that, especially if you're the team that's on the receiving end after it's changed. Jenny is saying, I knew it would be Richarlison, it always has to be him. He does have a thing about scoring against you guys. However, he did well. Who was the last match they had? And he came on as a substitute, and the minute he came on, the whole game changed. Like, the minute he came on, the game changed. But yeah, so I actually thought 1-1 was probably overall a reasonable reflection of the match. I don't think it would have been crazy if Spurs had gone on even to win, because they did play so well for large parts. But I thought for the most part that a draw was a reasonable outcome for the match. Ray Ray says, thresholds for fouls have no right or wrong answer. It's just a question of where you draw the line. There's no right or wrong line. Well, there is if it's the rule. If the rule is X, then that's the right line. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, fans will have different opinions, and I actually find fans often have different opinions depending on the era they grew up in. So I grew up kind of with the likes of Vidic, with the likes of Roy Keane, with that sort of era. So there was quite a bit of physicality. However, anyone who's a little bit older than me would probably remember it even more physical than I do. Anybody who's a bit younger than me might think Roy Keane was an absolute maniac. Do you know what I mean? So I do think it does very much depend on the era that you grew up watching, because that's football for you. That's what football is at its core, and everything else is kind of a development on that. That's your OG, that's your original. So I think a lot of people feel that, whatever their original was, that's right. While I understand, I agree with you in the sense that I don't think an opinion can be wrong where they can be different, but I don't think they can be wrong. Everyone's entitled to feel how they feel about it. But I think the rule is the rule, and whatever the rule is, regardless of how we feel about it, that has to be the right line. Otherwise, there's no point in having rules. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of agree and I disagree there. But I think if they decide, right, the threshold, and when I say they, I mean the PGMOL, if they decide, right, the threshold needs to be higher, we've been given away penalty kicks for too little contact. A penalty is a big advantage to give a team. It's almost always a goal unless it's Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Therefore, we feel that there should be a minimum of this kind of contact before we award that penalty. I suppose the punishment has to be commensurate to the foul that's given away. So if the contact is minimal, then to give such a harsh punishment, it doesn't correlate. But I think it's right and wrong if that's what they decide. If that's what they make the rule and that's what the rule is, then I think that has to be the line. I mean, there'll be people that like it, there'll be people that won't, there'll always be people that'll disagree or not, and that's fine, because we're fans, and that's our job, is to have opinions on things and to discuss them. That's what it is. But I think in terms of the actual rules themselves, I do think there has to be a right and wrong, because otherwise there's no point in rules. But I just found it very interesting, because it seemed a marked difference between this game week and maybe the last 2 or 3, and I thought it was very, very obvious as well. Now, we have reached 8:05, which means, oh my God, I have been talking forever. So, thank you all very much for joining. Thank you all for getting involved in the conversation. And obviously, like that, Ray is sort of disagreeing with me a little bit. I find that fantastic, because what it does is, I'm not going to change I might change my opinion depending on what information people give me, but I can have my opinion, and Ray, for example, can have his opinion, and we can disagree. And then at the end, we can have a conversation about it. And at the end, we can say, do you know what? We still disagree, but it was a good chat. Do you know, it was a good conversation. It was interesting to talk about. It was interesting to get, a different slant or a different view from that same topic. So, guys, if you agree, disagree, no problem at all. Once it's respectful the way Ray is, that's great. Get it into the chat, because it makes it, everybody then feels that their opinion is maybe being represented on the channel, even if it's not what's my opinion. So thank you to Ray for sort of challenging a little bit as well. But thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your Monday evening. Thank you for arriving, even when I was disorganised and did not plan the stream very well. I am going to go and watch the match. If you're going to watch the match, enjoy it. If you're not, enjoy the rest of your evening. I will be back tomorrow. There is matches tomorrow. There's Europe tomorrow, so I'll be back at 7, and I might have a surprise. I might have a little video earlier in the day. I'm undecided, so do have your notification bell on, because I'm going to be changing up the schedule a little bit going forward. The evening stream will still be on, but I might be having some extra streams earlier in the day as well. I might be doing kind of a mini stream and then a long stream, or a pre-record and then a long stream in the evening. I'm undecided, so we'll know tomorrow when I figure out what I'm doing with my life. But that was a very long ending to the show. Thank you for being here. Have a lovely evening, and I will talk to you all very soon, folks. Have a good